When we think about Delphi, we immediately think about the oracle, or the female priestess called the Pythia, who prophesied within the temple of Apollo. It would, however, be erroneous to reduce Delphi to just the oracle. It is worth noting that consultation with the Pythia only took place on the seventh day after the new moon that began the month. Furthermore, consultation did not take place during the winter months. So, the total number of days when the Pythia was available for prophesizing was only a handful. Yet, ancient visitors toured Delphi even on days when the oracle was not available. In this talk, we will examine some of the other activities beyond the oracle available at Delphi during Antiquity. There's a number of reasons why Delphi was so popular even on days when the oracle was not prophesizing, but perhaps the most interesting is tourism. In fact, one could argue that Delphi was one of the earliest publicized tourist destinations of antiquity. The Greek author Pausanias in the 2nd century CE wrote his hugely influential travel book, Description of Greece, generating a massive interest in the country. In this book, a substantial section details the treasures, beauty, and history of Delphi, inspiring countless of wealthy Roman families to visit Greece, much like we do today. The high road from here to Delphi is very steep and rather difficult even for a well-equipped traveler. Many varying legends are told about Delphi, and still more about the Oracle of Apollo. For they say that in the most ancient times it was the Oracle of Earth, and that Earth appointed as priestess of her oracle, Daphnis, who was one of the mountain nymphs. In fact, after you visit Delphi, you'll be quite cognizant that the actual temple to Apollo is only a small fraction of the sanctuary. One of the earliest structures you run across as you ascend the Sacred Way, or the main road of Delphi, is the Athenian treasury. Our favorite travel writer, Pausanias, whom we mentioned earlier, wrote that it was dedicated with the spoils from the Battle of Marathon, where an Athenian army scored a surprising victory over the invading Persians. It should say something about the importance Delphi held to the Pan-Hellenic world, that not just the Athenians, but well over a dozen other city-states and islands chose to donate treasuries here. From a religious perspective, donating a treasury at Delphi helped ensure the favor of Apollo in future requests from the city-state. From a practical perspective, the treasuries were symbols of the wealth and power of a Greek city-state. Delphi had countless Greek and non-Greek visitors during Antiquity, and here was a location for a city-state to demonstrate or brag about their power. It's not just the treasuries donated by notable Greek states, such as Athens, Thebes, or Sifnos, that we should focus on. Various non-Greeks were known to have donated extravagant gifts to Delphi, including King Croesus of Lydia and Emperor Hadrian of the Roman Empire. One should try to imagine that the portion of Delphi that the modern tourist visits today would have been heavily adorned with monuments and statues amongst brightly colored buildings. If you were an ancient visitor to Delphi, you would have been immensely pleased in taking in the beauty of the sanctuary's location or admiring the architecture, statues, and treasures, even if you were not consulting the oracle. However, there would have been even more to entertain an ancient visitor. On the hillside above the Temple of Apollo, you will come across a theater and a stadium, indicating that plays and sporting events also took place at Delphi. In fact, although the modern audience is typically only aware of the Olympic Games, which originated from the sanctuary of Zeus Olympus, Delphi had its own games called the Pythian Games, second only to the Olympic Games in importance. The Pythian Games at Delphi took place every 4 years and were spaced 2 years after the Olympic Games, so these two sporting events were always alternating evenly. There were many similarities between the Olympic and Pythian Games, with significant overlap in the events. Even the prizes were similar, with the winner receiving an olive wreath at the Olympic Games and a laurel wreath at the Pythian Games. Where they did differ, however, was that the Pythian games also included competitions in art, music, and later in theater. In fact, our favorite ancient travel writer, Pausanias, states that the oldest contest at Delphi was the singing of the hymn to Apollo. The oldest contest, and the one for which they first offered prizes, was, according to tradition, the singing of a hymn to the god. Another distinction between the Pythian and Olympic Games is that the Pythian Games had female participants competing in both athletics and art concurrently with the men. As one can see, Delphi was a destination location to visit, even if one neither had the means nor the intention of consulting the oracle. Delphi has always been far more than just an oracle prophesizing at the Temple of Apollo. Starting around the 8th century BCE, this pan-Hellenic sanctuary slowly acquired treasuries, statues, monuments, theaters, and stadiums, creating one of the most magnificent Greek sacred sanctuaries of its time. If you enjoyed this talk, please like, comment, subscribe, and check out my other videos on Delphi.